Welcome to another edition of Safety Tips. I'm your guy, Paul Orukamayan. We're going to be looking at the effect of screen when we talk about the effect of bright screen. Our focus is going to actually be on the use of television, the use of a phone, and the prolonged use of computer. How long do you expose yourself to this device, which are very, very useful to our day-to-day life? Now, we look specifically to say that prolonged exposure to iPhone contrast, or computer contrast, or TV contrast could lead to several eye problems. This does not actually focus on the medical remedies of eye problems, but it focuses on those preventive measures that you can take to ensure that you have a long-lasting eye for yourself. One of the effects that you usually find when you stay too long with this eye contrast screen is you have constant eye irritation. Have you ever used your phone for a very long time, or stay close to your computer, or stay too close to your TV? For those who have small offices and there's a very big TV screen in your office, and all day you watch through this screen, after some time you start itching your eyes, and the next thing, your eyes are very reddish and start having strained lines. This is an effect of that bright screen. You have to wash it, because if you don't wash it, you're already developing eye problem. Do you know that when you focus too much on bright screen, it could give you what we call dry eyes? Your eyes are usually wet all through the period, and by the time you have a prolonged stay with a screen, the nerves controlling the eyes start having its own deficiency to function very well, and then you start developing reduced supply of wetness in the eye. Because of that strain, the eyes itself start getting dry. The medical professionals will explain better how that gives you a prolonged effect when it comes to cataract. Have you also understood that after prolonged staying with your computer screen in the office for about 7-8 hours, you just feel fatigue? You know you didn't go anywhere, you didn't do any work, and you just start feeling so tired, feeling so stressed. The reason is because the longer you stay with that bright screen, the more effect and damage it causes to your brain. And when your brain is struggling to regulate the eyes between its normal eye functioning and the supply of the light of the brightness of the screen, the brain itself overwork, and this affects the entire body, and this will actually lead to ailments and all that later. Do you know that when you stay too close to your screen, it is good to have a very big TV screen, but for you to have a very big TV screen, you need to also have a very big parlor to accommodate it. That is why when you go to the cinema, most times you are advised to always go with a sunshade or a refractive glass, because in the cinema they have a very high contrast screen that refracts back to your eyes and could cause effects on its own. So if you stay too long and too close to your screen, taking a focus on your computer screen, it could also cause blur vision for you. So all of these are things that you need to avoid for you to stay safe. What do you need to put in place for you to be able to prevent the effect of bright screen to your eyes? Are you using a computer? If you're using a computer, you need to have what we call a screen shade. The screen shade is the front layer you are seeing on the screen right now. That shade is designed to regulate the brightness of the screen to reduce the effect on the human eyes. Before now, most computers don't come with contrast reduction. So the screen shade on its own helps to reduce the contrast of the brightness of on the computer screen. But today, thank God to technology. If you look at major computer and laptop that have been produced today, you have what we call the contrast regulation buttons. It's used to reduce the brightness of the screen. That is to say, when you are in a brighter environment, you might need a bright screen to be able to work. Then you will not have effects from the screen. But when you are in a closed environment, maybe in the night, you will have to regulate that screen to come down to your visual capacity. How do you understand the visual capacity? If the screen is too bright, you feel serious irritation in your eyes. But when you reduce the contrast, as at that time, you understand that you have a normal and stable system. You can also prevent by providing useful background on your phones. Today, if you look at your phones at night, you wake up in the night and you touch your phone screen, you discover that it gives you a very wrong sensation in your eyes. For you to avoid that, you need to choose your phone background in a dark shade. What do we mean a dark shade? It means that in the night, as you're going into the night, you use a dark background screen. If you are using a screensaver, you need to choose a background for your night use from a dark screen. Screensaver, that is to say that whenever you touch that screen in the night, it should not have effect on your eyes. However, during the brightest day, when you have a dark contrast, you might not be able to use it. So in such situation on the day, you can redirect your screen to a brighter screen background. We say you should adjust the brightness of your screen. A lot of people watch TV or put their face to screen, not knowing that you can adjust your TV brightness. For those people who actually work in control center, maybe the monitoring center, where you have a lot of TV screen, a lot of computer screen that you are exposed to, at every given time you need to adjust the brightness of that screen. If you don't adjust the brightness of that screen, you find out that after working for 20 years, you might not be useful again to that institution because of the eye, the effects that you've gotten from your eyes. You should also think at all time. You should think at all time how to stop the bad attitude. What do we call the bad attitude in screen brightness? A lot of people tend to stay on the phone till that hour that they are dozing off. It's a very bad attitude. You either ping, shout, 12 midnight you are shouting, and then suddenly you fall asleep, the phone is on your body. It is a bad attitude in the use of phone, and it's also a bad effect when it comes to the use of bright screen. Whenever you are shouting and you know you're going to sleep within the next 30 minutes, that is the time for you to put off that phone. If you don't put off that screen from your eyes, obviously you're watching TV, let's not limit to phones on its own, or you're working on your system. You don't just pull off your system and go to bed. Once you go to bed, you discover within the next 2 hours, something wake you up. And when you wake up, you discover that you're having something like a swollen eyes, you haven't discharged from your eyes. This is actually an effect from that bright screen that you were looking before you suddenly go to bed. Your eyes need to move temporarily from the bright screen, regulate itself into the darkness, and before shutting down for the day. So you as an individual, you should limit the attitude of keeping your eyes to a bright screen to that minute that you are going to bed. Finally, if you know that you need to save your eyes from the effect of bright screen, then you might need to have a special contrast glass shade. There are some people whose duty, your responsibility in your office space does not remove you from your computer screen throughout from morning to night. There's some people who work in the monitoring section, either in security outfit or media houses, where you are going to be exposed to different type of screen. then it is recommended for you to have a special regulatory glass that could regulate your eyes at any given time that is exposed to a bright screen. What that glass do for you is usually recommended by the opticians, ophthalmologists. They look at your eyes, you explain to them the nature of your work and how long you expose yourself to this bright light, to this screen, and they bring out the best regulatory glass for you. It means that once that glass find out that the brightness of the screen is higher than the capacity of your eyes, it re-regulates your height towards that standard. And if you have the screen, you should be sure that you could have a very long last and eye-free problem in your lifetime. So remember, if you don't put serious attention to the effect of bright screen when you're using your computer, when you're using your television, or even using your phone to be able to regulate them to fit into your eyes, it could lead to blindness. Remember, safety precautions are usually the cheapest way to avert the effect of disaster. I remain your guide, Paul Orukamayan, on safety tips.